This episode of Philly Fame TV is sponsored by Top Dog Law. Now y'all already know who to call for any accidents or injury cases. If you want that top dollar, you better get at Top Dog. You can hit him up on Instagram at Top Dog Law or visit his website www.topdoglaw.com. Philly Fame. Alright y'all, welcome back to Philly Fame TV. Appreciate y'all for tapping in once again. Appreciate all the support y'all showing to the channel. This your first time tapping in, make sure y'all like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Today we gonna be, recapping and breaking down, the Quilly interview on No Jumper on the Adam and Wack podcast. They got their own little show together, so Quilly was featured on the segment of their show. And I just want to, give my thoughts on, what I thought about the interview. And also, I want to touch on briefly, 50 reigniting his issues with Meek Mill. Briefly touch on that. And then I'll also briefly touch on, Charleston, Wack and Gillie, the update on that. Alright, so without further ado, we're going to get right into it. Now, starting off watching the interview with Quilly with Adam and Wack, you could see from the jump I had drawn like an hour and 34 minutes, I believe. So in the beginning, when it first come on, they first start talking, it's clear as day that Wack don't really have no idea too much about Quilly hardly at all, as do Adam. Like, they barely know really Quilly. It's clear you can see that they really only know him from being on Act podcast, and all the stuff that he was saying on there is pretty much the limit of what they know about Quilly. Like, they know Quill from that, so whatever he said on that, that's the most they know about him. So they started off, Adam was trying to appear unbiased and he didn't have a dog in the race, and he was calling out Wack for being a Meek hater and having an agenda against Meek. So he pretty much was like trying to be the voice of reason, being dude Quilly and Wack was clearly going to be talking about Meek in a negative way. So they started off the interview talking and all that, and eventually they got to where Wack called Cosmic Kev up on the phone on live on the air, and pretty much got him to co-sign and verify who Quilly was and what Quilly's status was in Philly. Cause like I said, Wack clearly didn't know, so he had to pretty much do his homework live on air. So he called Kev. Kev said what he said. Then they jumped into why Meek and Quilly was beefing. They went back to the $75,000 that feature that Meek was supposedly trying to charge Quill to get on the Real One song or whatever. So they jumped a little bit into that. Then Wack started getting messy off top and jumped right into the comment Quill made about Meek baby mom and the different tattoos she had on, all that. And Quilly was trying to downplay it. You could kind of see he was trying to downplay it. Then he spoke like, I wasn't really trying to get into it. I got some calls the last time I brought that up, so now I ain't really trying to touch on that and all that. So he was going that route initially, but Wack kept kind of spicing it up and all of that, and kept talking about it. And eventually Quill just dove right into it and said, and named two of the people that he knew who was tatted on there supposedly. I'm going by what Quill say. I don't know about these tattoos, and maybe I don't know nothing about this. I'm just repeating what Quill's saying. So he named two people, and that was crazy. Because initially he said he wasn't trying to go there. He even said after Wack, I wasn't even trying to do that. But that was kind of crazy. So this all happened within the first 18 minutes of this episode. Then eventually they got to him having to bring Tiffy up to Quilly. Wack bring Tiffy up saying that because Quilly made some comments talking about Tiffy used to do security for him and all that. Tiffy responded on social media saying that was cap and talking about Quilly. So Wack saying he got a relationship with Tiffy, so he reaches out to Tiffy before the podcast, letting him know that he interviewing Quilly, and Quilly, was you really Quilly security and all that? And he read Tiffy's response back to Quilly, like twin right there in his face, and got Quilly to make some comments on that and all that. So, you know, the conversation, in my opinion, was kind of like dragged out. They didn't seem to have no real questions for Quill. They didn't have no questions prepared, so to speak. They pretty much was just touching on some of the stuff X said and was asking Quill a little stuff about that, getting him comment on that, but they ain't really have no thought out plan. It wasn't formatted. It didn't have no structure to it. It just kind of was like all over the place. Like X John had more of a flow to it, had more of a, you know, a conversation that was organized and prepared. He had actual questions for Quill. You could tell he knew something about Quill. I mean, even though he didn't dig all the way into Quilly's story like that, he was at least familiar with Quilly enough to ask him certain questions, and you can tell he knew some of the stuff about Quilly. Like, whereas though Wack and Adam, they clearly ain't really knew nothing about Quilly at all, as it appeared to me. So as the interview kept going on, they was sidetracking into like several different conversations that really didn't have nothing to do with Quill. They just was like going off into their own little mood. You know, even going back and forth, taking little shots at each other. Like when Wack brought up Kanye and all this stuff, he was working with Ye and running around with Ye and all that, and Adam basically saying, yo, why you glazing Kanye like that? And they went had a little back and forth about that, and Adam calling him out for basically being a dick rider and a dick eater and all that, like, type shit. Then at some point, Adam was trying to end the interview, like, Wack went off on this little, Adam called it a Clubhouse infomercial. Like, he started talking about Clubhouse and breaking down Clubhouse to Quilly. Then called one of the people, like I guess one of his homies that ran one of the Clubhouse rooms, and was trying to get them to ask questions to Quilly and all that. So he had a whole little segment of that right there. And while he was doing that, Adam like kind of was tuned out. He was in his phone, like you could tell he kind of was like irritated and annoyed by that. And then he even said it, like he don't like when Wack do that. Like he don't like when he plugged that Clubhouse stuff while he in the middle of doing these stuff. Like he don't really like that too much. So he was trying to end it, but Quilly like, nah, like me, like why y'all try to end me early? Like why y'all try to end it early? Type, oh, like we still got more to talk. Like Quilly wasn't trying to go nowhere. He wasn't going for that. Like he was trying to keep that interview going as long as possible. He was trying to milk that situation and get as much of that look as he could get. You know what I mean? So then, you know, next thing you know, they start, Wack and Adam start arguing about Brick Baby. Wack start going in on Brick Baby and all this, like, I mean, like I said, stuff that's another situation ain't got nothing to do with Quill. I mean, they just going back and forth. Wack and Adam pretty much was just bidding on each other. I mean, and then Adam tried to end it again. Like, I mean, like he went on to try to end it again. And basically, like, yo, what else we got to talk? We ain't really got nothing else to talk about. Like, and Quilly like, nah, like, we gonna talk about, like, you know what I mean, me being the hottest in Philly and coming out here on the West Coast, and I'm on no jump. Like, we gonna talk about something. Like, Quill ain't trying to let that go. Like, but you could clearly see, like, I mean, that interview wasn't really about Quill, and a lot of comments I seen said that, like, this wasn't no Quilly interview. It was like basically Wack talking and over talking and Adam talking. Like, it wasn't really like an interview, them sitting down getting to know Quilly. I mean, getting his story and even talking about Meek too and including in that. It just was, I mean, them pretty much trying to go in on Meek with certain little comments and topics and questions, and Adam and Wack just pretty much going back and forth. And looking at the comments, that's like majority of what people were saying. Some people is entertained by it because it was a lot of funny moments in that joint. You know, Quill is an entertaining guy, like I said in the last recap I did for his act interview. Quill gonna say some funny stuff. He gonna make it entertaining, but they was taking the focus off of Quill and putting it on other stuff and putting it on, so it wasn't really like a full sit down, get to know Quilly type joint. And judging by the comments, a lot of people pretty much felt that way. So y'all let me know how y'all felt about the interview. What's your thoughts on, you know, the overall interview? It dropped last night, so this is the following day that this recap and review, my thoughts, and I'm sharing my thoughts on it the next day. So hopefully a lot of y'all watched it by now and y'all can give me your opinion on that. Now I'll briefly touch on the 50 and Meek situation real quick. I mean, it ain't really much of a situation as of now because Meek ain't really been responding to him. But you know, initially when the Little Rod lawsuit had came out, and then people, you know, was putting Meek name in it when it said Philadelphia rapper that dated Nicki Minaj, and a lot of people had jokes for Meek and making jokes about him. 50 had threw up a post, you know, because 50 been non-stop going at Diddy for a minute, you know what I mean? And ever since these allegations came about, 50 been on his top going crazy, you know what I mean? So, pause, no Diddy. So 50 threw a post up with like Saucy Santana walking, and the caption was like something like Meek Mill leaving P. Diddy house or something like that. So I'm thinking when I seen that, because they been had beef before years ago, and they squashed it, and they been cool, ain't really been going at each other, been quiet on each other since that time. So when he threw this up, I'm thinking like, alright, you know, he been going at Puff, so you know, he probably just throwing little shots at Meek, because everybody else joking on Meek at this time. You know, everybody else was making all these jokes and memes and stuff about Meek, so I'm thinking he just hopping on the train, throwing a little shot, ha, and that was the end of it. So Meek didn't respond to that post. At this time, Meek just stopped responding to academics. He just started responding to everybody. So when 50 threw that up, he just ain't saying. He just kept quiet. I mean, so then some time passed, and then recently, I believe like yesterday or the other day, so this was like within the last couple of days, 50 throws up another post with some, you know, somebody talking some, you know, some homosexual stuff and referencing Meek. You know what I mean? Like, no, pardon me, correction. 50 put up a post, because that was Quilly that did that. I'm confusing. So Quilly had threw up a post with somebody saying some stuff about me. But 50 actually put a post up, somebody making a meme like, you know, people was doing some AI stuff with the lyrics and having Meek say a line where he said, I hope people forgive me for what I did with Diddy or something like that.
Dream chasers, nigga. I hope they forgive me for what I did with Diddy. Real street nigga forever.
So he had posted a video with somebody acting like they was listening to that song and reacting to it. So he recently put a post up with somebody with that and taking a direct shot at Meek with the Puff Daddy situation, pretty much. So now that he done that, it's looking like, you know, that's another John that he throwing up. So now, because the heat turned up on Puff, as far as like they raided this house, put his kids in handcuffs, and all this stuff seeming to be, you know, turning up as far as like all these allegations and lawsuits and stuff coming out. So it don't look like 50 is going to stop going at Puff no time soon. He even talking about he got a documentary coming out, you know, called Did He Do It and something like that. Like, so he's going to be, so I'm just wondering, sitting back wondering, like, is he going to keep throwing Meek in there? Like, it's because Meek collateral damage now, because, you know, because he had an issue with Meek years ago, and I mean, and because of, you know, the Rick Ross stuff too, because, you know, 50 and Ross still don't, I mean, they still be throwing little shots at each other here and there, and I mean, little interviews and stuff like that. So they still not rocking. So I'm wondering, like, do that got something to do with 50 now? Like, all right, well, you just, I mean, Meek connected with Diddy now, so because I'm already going at Diddy, and I already had beef with Meek, and I already don't like Ross, so now it's just like, I'm just wondering, as he's going to keep going at Puff, is he going to keep throwing Meek in it? Like, I mean, I'm just wondering if that's going to be an ongoing thing now, and if Meek going to eventually respond back to it if he keeps saying stuff. Like, so now he let the first one slide, he threw another one out there, Meek still ain't respond, so I'm guessing he going to let this slide too. But if he say something else, I don't know if Meek going to just keep letting it slide, or if he going to go on the Twitter tirade and, you know, he going at 50, like. So we shall see how that play out. We're going to sit back and watch. Eventually we're going to find out either if 50 going to keep going, or if he's just going to fall back and leave that situation alone. And the crazy part to me about this whole thing is, as far as like that lawsuit that Lil Rod put out and put people's names in it, he put Usher and Cuba Gooding name in there too, and I think a couple other celebrities or whatever the case may be. But everybody just went at Meek and immediately started clowning Meek about it. Like, you don't really see too many Cuba Gooding jokes like that. You don't really see too many Usher jokes like that. I mean, but you see a whole lot of Meek. Even before Meek responded back to these allegations, niggas was on Meek top just for his name being associated with this. So I just think that's interesting. Everybody really piled on Meek, and ain't really say nothing about the other people for whatever reason. I mean, and I'll briefly touch on, you know, the Gillie Charleston White thing. Like I did a little video about that, you know, and pretty much touched on how the whole situation came about and what the status was at that point in time for Charleston White making a video dissing Cheese and Gillie, and then making a post on social media dissing Cheese and Gillie. And you know, Gil chose not to respond social media. Why he ain't respond back? I ain't see no posts, I ain't see no comments or nothing. He just left that where it was at far as the internet's concerned. But what he did do was he pulled up on Jack Frost, you know, a legendary Philly rapper from, you know, back in the day and all that. And now he be on the chef joint. He got his own, you know, I guess it's a restaurant. I don't want to misclassify it, but he got his own spot where he be doing his cooking now. I'm assuming it's like a restaurant or a store or something like that, where he be cooking and selling food and stuff. And because it's Ramadan right now, he's been, you know, feeding the fasting Muslim for free, like giving out free food for those fasting during Ramadan. So Gil pretty much pulled up on him and, you know, offered to help him on behalf of his son Cheese, because Muslims believe that if you do a good deed in someone's name who passed away, you know, they'll get the rewards for it. So Gil went the route of pretty much using his son's name to do something positive in his son's name, to getting benefits, you know, getting benefits and rewards for his religion. I mean, for their religious beliefs. So that's the route he chose to go, doing something positive in his son's name, as opposed to responding back to Charleston White on some internet stuff. So, you know, shout out to Gil, R.I.P. Cheese, you know what I mean? And I think that's a good way to handle it, to be honest. You know what I mean? I think that's a good way for him to do with it. And to touch back on Meek's situation with 50, I think it's a good way for him to handle it, not responding. Like, I think it's good to not respond, like, to none of that type of stuff. Don't engage in it, don't, you know what I mean? Like, if I could advise them where they could see it and take some advice, I would personally say, man, just leave all that type stuff alone. I mean, all that internet stuff, like, just leave it alone. Continue to do your thing, continue winning, continue living life, get money, and taking care of your people and doing positive stuff for other people. I mean, regardless of what negative people say about you, just keep looking out and helping people. I mean, and that's gonna pretty much speak for itself. Like, and people always gonna have something negative to say regardless. So as long as you keep doing your thing and doing positive, none of the stuff they say really gonna matter at the end of the day. So that's my thoughts, that's my opinion, you know, that's my assessment of the whole situation as far as the Quilly interview and the situation with Meek and 50 and the situation with Charleston White and Gillie. Like, y'all let me know your thoughts and your comments and how y'all feeling about it. I mean, I'll definitely be checking y'all comments. I like to read y'all comments and see what y'all think about certain things too, you know what I mean? And I appreciate everybody for supporting the channel, showing love. I mean, we're going to keep y'all updated on what's going on in the city that I think y'all be interested in knowing about. That's going to conclude this episode, this update, this recap video. Until next time, we signing out. Philly Fame TV, we out here.